And that was a quick change. All right. The theater community recently lost a great leader who made a broad impact over the course of his lengthy career in Los Angeles, including founding the Geffen Playhouse in Westwood. Here to speak about the life, career, and continuing legacy of Gil Cates is his longtime collaborator, Geffen Playhouse Artistic Director, Randall Arney.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for that. And I want to thank the Ovations for allowing me a few minutes this evening to talk about my time, my partnership with Gil Cates, our friend and founder, producing director of the Geffen Playhouse, who passed away too suddenly for those of us who will miss him 2 weeks ago tonight. I know that so many of you here were touched by Gil over the years. In fact, if I went around the room, it would probably be every single one of you over the course of his many years in this town. And we at the Geffen have been so touched by the outpouring of affection and regard from the theater community and from the film community, and for that, we thank you. My time with Gil is a perfect theater story because it's a story of collaboration, of give and take, of love, respect, of teamwork with a dedicated team over time. And a tribute to him, a celebration of him, is really befitting an evening like this, which is celebrating the most of all collaborative arts. And my story with Gil also is a little bit of life is what happens when you're planning for something else. I first met Gil in 1994. In the lobby of the Westwood Playhouse, as the Geffen was then known. I was the artistic director of the Steppenwolf Theater Company from Chicago. Thank you for that. And I had collaborated with Steve Martin on a play, the premiere of his play called Picasso at the Lapin Agile. Thank you for remembering. The play had traveled from Chicago to Los Angeles and was enjoying a long run there in the rental house, the Westwood Playhouse, the last show that was going to be that. My first memories of Gil Cates was he had been charged to turn the Westwood Playhouse into a not-for-profit theater. And I would come out from Chicago to visit my casts or to replace an actor, and Gil would come across the lobby and chat with me about what a not-for-profit theater is. He'd worked in theater all his life. It had never been not-for-profit. He couldn't figure what was that all about. So we talked about the structuring of a not-for-profit. I specifically remember him one time asking me, what's a board of directors do for a not-for-profit? And I said, mainly they have your back, Gil. You need to get a bunch of people who are your friends, who will look after your every wish and desire. I said at Steppenwolf, our first board members were some of our parents. And then we added a lawyer when we needed to, or we added somebody to, a banker when we needed to. 2 months later, I came to visit my cast. He came across the lobby and said, Randy, I've started on the board. I've got Steven Spielberg. I've got Bob Daly, who is the chairman of Warner Brothers and later was going to be the chairman CEO of the Dodgers. I've got actor Carl Malden, and the list went on and on. Done only the way Gil would do it. Within a year, he had the structure, the staff, and several thousand subscribers. He created a theater from absolutely nothing. I said goodbye and headed back to Chicago and thought for sure that's where it was going to end. 5 years later, when our paths crossed again, I had tired of theater administration. I'd made a life change, moved to Los Angeles to act and direct. I called Gil to pitch a project to him at his theater. He had no interest in my play at the time, but he said that he was, in fact, looking for an artistic partner. And would I be interested in that? Because he also said he was tiring of administrating such a beast. He had many irons in the fire, the Oscars and the movies that he was directing for television. I declined, saying that wasn't what I thought I wanted to do. He said, how about a lunch? I was an out-of-work actor. And lunch sounded really good. Over the next 3 months, 3 to 6 months, Gil and I shared a series of lunches. He would call every week or so. Let's go have a lunch. Let's talk again about the theater. And he talked to me about his dreams for a theater on the west side of Los Angeles, his belief in the vitality of the Los Angeles theater world. Gil had plans to renovate the theater, and we both felt that we could create a vibrant theater for West Los Angeles. I jumped in, reinvigorated by Gil. Along the way, Gil was re-energized, recommitted to the theater, his first love. I remember the day he came to me and he said, "Well, you're the artistic director. What do we call me?" And we came up with a title, and an unlikely partnership ensued for the next 12 years. Unlikely because it was me, steeped in a Chicago theater known for brash ensemble work, collaborating with Lanford Wilson, with Sam Shepard, with Harold Pinter, with Tom Waits, known for creating new works like The Grapes of Wrath or Picasso at the La Peine Agile. And Gil, a Broadway director of I Never Sang for My Father, later made into the film that Gil directed with Gene Hackman, You Know I Can't Hear You When the Water's Running, director of Oscar-nominated films and landmark TV events and movies, but also Gil, whose first job in show business was guessing ages and weights in a carnival. It was great to watch him in a meeting at the Geffen, all of a sudden look across and say, "I bet I can tell you within 2 years and 5 pounds how old you are and how much you weigh." Always disarming the challenger. Gil had a deep, enduring love of the circus. One of his favorite films, and look it up when you get a chance, was something he produced called Rings Round the World, a Don Amici narrated film chronicling the finest circus performers in the world. And Gil would tear up as he would tell you about thousands and thousands of people can juggle 10 plates, but only 4 have ever juggled 11. He loved the artistry of that and the excellence of that. This rich collaboration of ours led to 12 years together, the creation of an absolutely amazing staff. Many of them are sitting here right now. Production staff, administrative staff, a wealth of shows and experiences, the width, depth, and breadth of which was due to our different backgrounds and approaches. There was, at times, of course, positive creative fiction, but it was always loving, always respectful, kind, just like Gil. Unlike Steppenwolf, where oftentimes chairs would fly across the room in meetings. Through the years, we at the Geffen have learned so much from Gil. Thousands and thousands of things, too many to enumerate. He was so sharp, so intuitive, so savvy, a student of human nature. Interestingly, I find the greatest lessons I carry from Gil have come from watching his kindness, his thoughtfulness, his remembering of the little thing as a human being, his joyful, curious, childlike approach to life, his respect for all. A couple of these lessons come to mind, and I pass them on to you. One, more than one person can be right, even at the same time. Whether he was negotiating between staff members or cast members, more than one person can be right, often at the same time. And by finding the right in each one of those people, I'm sure is the way he negotiated the DGA down from the ledge here in Hollywood. The second, he always said life is really just one big circus, and you can find just about any lessons to be learned there. And finally, he always said, bring a little candy to the box office. We used to go to meetings in Westwood, lunches all the time. We would have sometimes contentious meetings about crises at the theaters, meltdowns, financial issues. And in hurrying back to the theater, I would want to get back on the phones, and Gil would say, let's take a little walk, take a little detour. And he always walked past this candy store and would reach in with the joy of this kid from the Bronx with a scoop, digging out candy to fill up a bag, to take back and drop off at the box office when he got back at the door. And he's always said, remember, they're the people that deal with the public, they're the people that see the public, keep the box office happy, always bring a little candy for the box office. And finally, I've already talked longer than I wanted. I ask you to indulge me. Gil always loved a curtain call. As you know, many actors, directors, artists sort of demur, dismissing it as begging for some kind of applause or approval. Gil saw the curtain call differently. He saw it in the theater as a moment of communion, a joyful expression where reservations are dropped and performer and audience meet in a purely positive place of celebration of each other and the event and the art. In closing, I would ask you to please join me in a final curtain call for Gil Cates. Onward and upward with the arts.